given me excellent advice, which has been endorsed by my subjects, ministers, and all. Mother Kaushalya too has enjoined on me that she has through it, and which I certainly wish to carry out with reverence. The advice of one's preceptor, parent, master, and friend ought to be acted upon with a cheerful heart as conducive to one's goods. By pausing to think whether it is right or wrong, one fails in one's duty and incur lots of sins. You are surely giving me sincere advice, which, if followed, will do me good. Even though I fully realize this, my heart is not satisfied. Now, hear my request and give me advice that may suit me. Forgive me my presumptions in returning an answer to you. For good people reckon not the virtue of faults of the distress. My father is in heaven, and the both Sita and Rama are in the woods. Whereas you ask me to rule the kingdom, do you think this will do me good, or you expect some unusual gain to yourselves from this arrangement? My goods lies in the service of the Sri Rama. Although I have been derived, although my good lies in the service of Sri Rama. Although I have been deprived of that privilege through my mother's perversity, I have pondered in my heart and realized that my good lies is no other way. Of what account in this kingdom which is nothing? My good lies in the service of the Sri Rama, although I have been deprived of the privilege through my mother's perversity. I have pondered in my heart and realizing that my good lies in no other way. Of what account in this kingdom which is nothing but an abode of sorrow? When the feet of the Lakshmana, Rama, and the Sita are no longer to be seen, a loads of jewels is on of no use without loss. An inquiry about Brahma, the Absolute, is the little use without dissipations. Abundant enjoyments are no use to the deceased body, or of a little use are japa, muttering of prayers, and yoga, exercising of mind control. Without devotion of Shri Hari, a handsome body is of no use without life, and all I have is not without the Lord of the Raghu. Grant me leave to go where Rama is. My good exclusively lies in this. And if you urge that you seek your own good by crowning me king, you say so only through ignorance caused by affection. It is through infatuation that you expect happiness from the design of the wretch like me, who is Kakai's son of the perverted intellect, hostile to Rama and lost of to shame. I tell you the truth, you should all listen and believe what I say. A virtuous man alone should be crowned as king. The moment you install me on the throne, perforce the earth will sink into the lowest depth. Is such a inverted sinner as I, on whose account Sita and Rama have been exiled into the forest? The king sent Rama into exiles and himself ascends to the heaven the moment the latter left him. My wretched self, which is the root of all evil, is sitting quietly and hears all talks unmoved. Where even though I find the palace without Rama, I have survived and endured the world's jeers. Devoid of attraction of Sri Rama, who is sacred object of law, my soul is rapacious and hunger for land, domination and enjoyment. Rapacious means, what do you mean rapacious? Rapacious means aggressively greedy or grasping. Rapacious is a hunger for the land, domination and enjoyment. I have no words to depict the cruelty of my heart that has attaining notoriety by surpassing even adamant. An effect is a rule harder than the cause, and I am not to blame for it. The thunderbolt is more formidable and harder than bone, of which it was made, and iron, the rock from which it is quarried. Clinging to this body born of Kakai, my right life is exceedingly unfortunate. When life has been dear to me, even though I have been torn from my beloved brother, I shall have much to see and hear yet. Kakai has seen Lakshmana, Rama, and Sita into exile and has done a good turn to her husband by dispatching him to the abode of immortals. She has taken widowhood and infamy upon himself and bestowed grief and affliction on the people. And to me she has allotted happiness, good reputations, and thriving knowledge. kingdom. In this way, she has served the interest of all. I cannot expect greater good than this at present. Over and above that, you proclaim your intention to crown me king. Since I have been born into the world through Kakei's womb, this is not at all unbecoming of me. God Himself has accomplished everything for me. Why then should you all, as well as the people, help my cause? If a man under the evil influence of planets who is possessed by some evil spirits and is also affected by delirium and has been further stung by scorpion is giving a cup of wine, tell me what kind of treatment is this? God in His wisdom has obtained to me everything in this world that is worthy of Kakai's sons. He has, however, bestowed on me in vain the honor of being a son of King Dasharatha and a younger brother of Sri Rama. All of you urge me to accept the throne, and the king's commands is good for all. How shall I answer all individually? Let everyone gladly say what one pleases, bidding me and my vile mother tell me who will say the right thing has been done, accepting myself who is there in the whole animate and inanimate creation that does not love Sita and Rama at one's own life. What is most beneficial appears to you all as mighty gain. This is my misfortune, and none is to the blame for it. You are in the grip of the doubt, amiability, and affection, and whatever you are all say is right. Sri Rama's mother Kaushalya is most viewless of heart and love me in a special degree. Finding me in distress, she has said all this under impulse of the natural affection. My Guru Vashishta and all the world know is an ocean of wisdom. The universe is like a plum in the palm of his hand. Even he is making preparations for my coronations. When fate is adverse, everyone else turns hostile. With the exceptions of Sri Rama and Sita, no one in this world will say the plot did not have my approval. All this I must hear and endure with a cheerful heart, for wherever there is a water, mud must be there eventually. I shudder not to think that the world will call me vile, and I have little anxiety about the other worlds either. There's one terrible anguish that plugs my heart is it that Sita and Rama are suffering hardship on my account. Lakshmana has fully reaped the reward of his existence, discarding everything as he has fixed the mind of Sri Rama's feet. As for myself, I was born for Sri Rama's banishment. In vain do I lament, wretch that I am. Bowing my head to all, I lay open my terrible distress before you. Unless I behold Sri Rama's feet, the agony of my soul shall not go. I find no other remedy. Who else than the chief of the Raghu can know what passes in my heart? There's only one resolves in my mind. At daybreak I must proceed to meet the Lord, even though I am a vile offender and am at the root of all troubles. Yet when the Lord find me before him in suppliant mean, he will forgive all my faults and shower his special grace on me. The Lord of Raghu is an embodiment of amiability, meekness, extreme blueness of disposition, compassion, and love. Sri Rama has never injured even an enemy, to say nothing of me, a mere child, and his servants to throw hostiles to him. Therefore, do allow me, all of you, to depart and bless me in an auspicious strain, knowing it to be for my good, so that on hearing my supplication and recognizing me as his servant, Sri Rama may return to his capital. Though I am born of a weak mother and am myself a rough and ever guilty, I am confident of Rama that he will never forsake me, knowing me for his own. Bharta's words pleased all, imbued as they were with the nectar of devotion to Sri Rama. The people who had been burning with the deadly poison of the separation from Sri Rama were arouses to his sense on hearing as it were a charm against snake poison along with its seed letter. The moment the minister, the preceptor, and the people of the city all were overwhelmed with emotion, they praised Bharta again and again and said, "Your body is the very personification of affection for Sri Rama. It is no wonder that you should say so, dear Bharata, since you are dear to Rama as his own life. The vile men who thought his ignorance hate you because of your mother's perversity. The wretch shall abide in hell for 100 kalpa cycles with millions of his past generations. A gem on the head of the serpent is not affected by the sins and faults of the servants. On the other hand, if counteracts poisons and the destroyer burns to ashes sorrow and indigency, it contracts poison and destroyer burns to ashes sorrow and indigency, sorrow and indigency. Indigency means indigency, intellectual, indigency, unfair treatment is called indigency. Bharat Shri Ramayana. Bharata, you have thought out a good plan. By all means, let us proceed to the woods where Shri Rama is. You have held out a helping hand to us all while we were being drowned in the ocean of grief. Everyone felt as great a joy as when the chatkas, birds, and the peacock hear a clap of thunder. When the people came to know Bharata's welcome resolve to start the very next morning, they all began to love him and their own life. After reverencing the Sikh and bowing his head to the Bharata, they all four took leave and proceeded to their respective homes, praising as they went his amiability and affection and exclaiming, "Blessed is the Bharata was life in this world." They said to one another, "A great object has been accomplished." Everyone began to make preparations for the journey. Whomsoever they left behind, saying, "You should stay behind to guard the house," left as if he was smitten to the neck. Someone said, "Nobody should be asked to remain behind, who in this world would not have the reward of his eyes. Perish that property, house, happiness, friends, father, mother, or brother, who does not gladly help one turns own face towards Sri Rama's feet." In every house they got ready vehicles of the various kinds, and the soul rejoiced at the thought of the starting early next morning. On reaching his own apartments, Bharata thought to himself, "The city, horses, elephant, houses, and the treasury, everything belongs to the Lord of Raghu. If I leave it unprotected, the result will not be good for me. For disloyalty to one's master is the greatest of all sins. A servant is he who serves the interest of his master, no matter if anyone bring millions of imputations against him." Pondering thus, he summoned faithful servants who had never dreamt of flinching from their duty. Confiding to them all the secrets, he taught them their paramount duty and entrusted them with the work for which they were severally fit. After making all arrangements and posting guards, Bharata went to Sri Rama's mother Kaushalya. Knowing all the mothers in distress, Bharata, who understood the way of the law, ordered palkis to be got ready and sedan chairs to be equipped. Much afflicted at heart, like the male and the female Chakroka birds, the man and the woman of the city longed for the dawn. They kept awake the whole night till it was daybreak, when Bharata summoned his wise counselors and said to them, "Take all that is necessary for the installation ceremony. The Sikh Vashishta will crown Sri Rama's even in the forest start expeditiously." Hearing this, the minister greeted him and had the horse, carrot, and elephant immediately equipped. Taking with him his wife Arundhati and the requisites of Agnihotra, offering oblations in the sacred fire, the chief of the Sikh Vaishnav was the first to mount the carrot and led the way. Host of the Brahmans, who were all repositories of austerity and spiritual growth, followed in vehicles of the various kinds. The people of the city followed next. Having equipped their own conveyance, they all left for the Chitrakuta. All the queen journeyed in palkis with were lovely beyond words. Leaving the city in the charge of the faithful servants and the respectfully sending the whole party ahead. The two brothers Bharata and Shatrugna started last of all, remembering the feat of the Sri Rama and Sita. Seized with the longing for the sight of the Sri Rama, all the people, including both man and the woman, headed with the same zeal as the male and the female elephant, rushed in pursuit of water, realizing in their heart that Sita and Rama were in the woods. Bharata and his younger brother journeyed on the foot. Seeing their affection, the people were overcome with emotion and dismounting walk on the foot, leaving their horses, elephants, and the carrot, going up to Bharata's. Sri Rama's mother Kaushalya stopped her palki by his side and spoke in soft accents. I adjure you by my life to mount the carrot, dear child, or else all our near and dear ones will be put to trouble. If you walk on the foot, the whole party will follow suit, and you know they all are wasted with sorrow and hardly fit to undertake the journey on foot. Reverently obeying her commands and bowing her head at her feet, the two brothers mounted their carriage and proceeded on the journey. They halted the first day on the bank of the Tamsa river and made the next halt on the bank of the Gomti. Some of them lived on milk and some on fruits, while others took their meals by night, renouncing ornaments and the luxury. They observed vows and the fasts for sake of Sri Rama. Halting on the bank of the Sai river, they resumed their journey at daybreak, and the whole party drew near to the Shrangvira Pura. When the Nishada chief heard the whole story, he instantly thought within himself, what motive can Bharata have in journeying to the wood? He must have some evil design at heart. If he had no mischievous intentions at heart, why should he have brought an army with him? He must have thought that all after killing Rama and his younger brother Lakshmana, he would regain peacefully and happily. But Bharata did not take to heart the maxim of the sound polity. Latterly, he thought on himself Sigma alone, but this time he will meet a sure death. But Bharata did not take to the heart of maxim of the sound of polity. Latterly, he thought of himself Sigma alone, but stigma alone. Himself stigma. Stigma means, what do you mean by the stigma? Stigma means a mark of disgraceful associated with particular circumstances, quality of person. A mark of disgrace, this stigma alone, but the time he made to show death. If all the warriors among the gods and the demons combined against the Sri Rama, even they will fail to conquer him in the battle. But what wonder the Bharata should behave as he is doing, for venomous plants after all can never bear fruits of the ambrosia. Pondering thus, Guha said to his kinsmen, "Be alert, all of you. Collect the boats and sink them and sink them and blockade the vast flight of steps leading to the river leading place. Equip yourself and blockage the ghat. Be prepared in every way to face death. I will encounter Shri Bharata in open combat and would not let him cross the Ganga so long as there is life in me. To die in a battle and to on the bank of the Ganga and to lay down their trail body in Sri Rama's cause. The Bharata in Sri Rama's own brother and a king, while I am humble servant. It is through a great good fortune that one meets with a death like this. In the cause of my master, I will fight on the battlefield and will brighten the 14 spheres with my glory. I am going to lay down my life for the sake of Sri Rama, the Lord of Raghu, and will be gainer either way. If I win the battle, I will have served the cause of my master, and if I die, I will attain the eternal abode of the Lord and his constant service. He who is not reckoned among the virtuous and is neither counted among the Sri Rama's devotee lives in vain in the world. He is the veritable burden to the earth and an axe to the tree of his mother's death, mother's youth. And Shada chief, who was not the least troubled at heart, encouraged all and fixing his thought to Sri Rama, forthwith demanded his square bow and the coat of mail. Make haste, Britain, and get ready to necessary equipments. On hearing my command, let no one shrink of in fear. Very well, my lord. They all joyfully responded and roused the spirit of one another, greeting their chief one another after another. The Nishada left. They were all brave and loved in to fight on the battlefield. Invoking the shoes of Sri Rama's lotus feet, they fastened their quiver and strung their bow. Nay, they donated their coat of the mail, placed the helmet on their head, and straightened their axe, blunderbuss, and spear. Some of them, who were exceptionally clever at fencing, sprang with such agility that it seems they never approached the ground and moved in the air, equipping themselves with their weapons, etc., and forming themselves into the batches. They all went up to their chief Guha and greeted him. Seeing his gallant warriors and finding them all fit for the active service, he addressed them each by his name and duly honored them. Don't be treacherous, spare not your life. Treacherous, spare not your brethren. There is great issue before me today. Don't be preachers. How treacherous means treacherous, spare not. Treacherous means guilty of involving betrayal or deception. Treacherous, Breton, guilty of dissolving. Breton means fellow male religious order. Breton, there is great issue before me day at the gallant warriors. Gallant means gallant means heroic warriors. Spring exclaim, have patience, our brave uh, chief, chief chieftain, brave chieftain. Chieftain means powerful feud, the leader of the people, our brave chieftain. Through the majesty of Sri Rama and by your might, my lord, we shall leave no fighting man or horse in the enemy's ranks. We shall never retrace our steps so long as there is life in us. Nay, we shall strew the earth with the trunk and heads of the fallen warriors. The Nishada chief saw that he had a good band of warriors and exclaimed, beat the martial drum. Even as he said so, someone sneezed on the left sneezed. The sooth sneeze makes sudden involuntary expression from the nose due to the irritation. Sneeze on the left. Even he said so. Someone, the soothsayer said, the sneeze has come from a auspicious quarter. The issue will be a happy one. An old man threw over the meaning of the omen and exclaimed, let us go and meet Bharta. There will be no conflict. Bharta is out of pursuit. Sri Rama to return. The omen tell us that there will be no discord. On hearing the Guha's discord, disagreement, called discord. Discord means called the discord, a place of talk and hang out. A discord, your place to talk and hang out. 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 Discord. On hearing this, Guha said, the old man says straight, fool acts perceptibly and repent. If we come to a clash without knowing Bharta's intention and asserting his temper and disposition, we shall be doing much harm to one over class. Close up all my warriors and blockade the ghats till I meet Bharta and find out what is in his mind. When I have ascertained his friendly, hostile, or natural attitude, I shall act accordingly. After that, I shall test his love on the touchstone of touchstone. On the touchstone. Touchstone means a piece of fine grained dark jasper formerly used to testing alloy gold by observing the color of the mark. The touchstone of this friendly disposition for haters and love cannot be distinguished even if one tries to do so. So saying, he began to collect articles for making a presents and sent for the bulbs, roots and fruit as well as birds and the deers. Men of the porters class also bought lots of the fats and dry fish of the patina species. Thus equipped himself with presents, he proceeded to meet Bharta and met with auspicious and the happy omens. As soon as he saw the chief of the Sikh Vashishta, he mentioned his own name and protested himself before the Sikh from the distance. The Sikh, who knew himself to be a friend of Sri Ram, bestowed him blessings on him and told Bharta his details about his. Hearing that he was friend of Sri Rama, Bharta alighted from the carrot and leaving it behind, advanced towards him with a heart overflowing with love. Gohan inspired mentioned his village, caste and name and greeted him with placing his hands on the ground. When Bharata saw his falling protest on the ground, he lifted him and pressed him to his bosom. He felt as if he had met Lakshmana, and the surging emotion of his heart could not be repressed. Bharata embraced him with the great affections, and the people admired the mode of his love. Raising a jubilant cry of applause, the god extolled him and rained flowers on him. The man is low in the eyes of the world as well as from the point of view of the Vedas, so much so that one must bath even in crossing his shadow. One must bath even on crossing his shadow. Bharata embraced his great affection, his raising the jubilant cry of applause of God, extolled and rain flower on him. The man is low in the eyes of the world as well as from the point of view of the Vedas, so much so that one must bath even as crossing his shadow. Yet Sri Rama's younger brother Bharata has met him in the close embrace, his body thrilling all over with joy. A host of the sins turns away from him, from them who utter the name of Rama even while yawning. As for this man, he was embraced by the Sri Ramas himself, who thereby bestowed on him and his family the efficacy of sanctifying the whole world. When the water of the Karnasa joins the celestial stream Ganga, tell me who would not place it on his head. The whole world know how Valmiki become as God as Brahma, God himself, by repeating the name Rama in the reverse way as Mara. Even a Pare, a Samba Bhila, or Kanshi, the stupid barbarian, and the wild Kola and the Kirta get supremely sanctified and get renowned throughout all the spheres by uttering the name of Rama. It is no wonder it has been so no ages who has not been exalted through contact with the hero of the Raghu. In this way, the god glorified Sri Rama's name, and the people of the Ayodhya rejoiced as they heard the praises. Having thus met Sri Rama's friend, Koha Bharata long lovingly inquired after his health, welfare, and the happiness. Seeing Bharata's amiability and the affection of the occasions, Nishada forget all about himself, his bashfulness, love, and the soul delight grew, and he stood gazing at Bharata with unwinking eyes. Collecting himself, he bowed at Bharata's feet again and with joint palm lovingly submitted. Now that I have beheld your lotus feet, which are the very fountain of happiness, I have accounted myself blessed for all time. And now, my Lord, by your supreme grace, my welfare is assured for millions of generations. Remembering my doing and my descents on one hand, and realizing the Lord greatness on the others. He who does not devoted himself to Sri Rama's feet has been befooled in this world by providence. False, cowardly, evil-minded, and low-born as I am, and cast off from society as well as from the fold of the Vedas in every way, I have become the ornaments of the world ever since Sri Rama took me for his own. Seeing his affection, hearing his humble submissions, Bharata's younger brother Shatrughna embraced him next. The Nishada's chief then greeted all the Dongers, queens, and polites, and respected from mentioning his names each time, treating him is on the same footing as Lakshmana. They gave him their blessings. May you live happily for the millions of years. The men in the city were glad to see the Nishada chief as if they saw Rama, saw Lakshmana, and said, he has surely reaped the reward of their existence in that one beloved. Rama folded him in his arms. Hearing them extol his good fortune, the Nishada chief led them with a cheerful heart. Receiving a signal from him and learning their masters will all his attendants depressed, and in the house the foot of the trees, ponds, orchards, and the grove they made rooms for the guests to take up their longing. When Bharta behaved to the town for Shrangavarpura, all her limbs were overpowered with emotion. Leaning on the Nishada chief, he presented a goodly sight. It appears as its meekness and the love has taken a living form. In this way, Bharta, with all his army, went and saw the stream of the Ganga, which purified the whole world. He made obeisance to the ghat where Sri Rama had bathed and said his prayers, and his soul was enraptured as if he had met Sri Rama himself. The men and women of the city bowed low. They were glad to see the divine stream. Taking a dip into the river, they begged with joint palm to be the favored with abundant love for Sri Ramachandra's feet. Gata exclaimed, Mother Ganga, you saints are delightful to all, and the very cow of plenty to your devotee. With joint palm, therefore, I ask of you only one boon, that is spontaneous love for the feet of the Sita and ShriRama. In this way, after taking a dip into the Ganga and receiving his Guru's commands and on learning that all his mothers has finished their bath, he had then tents shifted. The people took up their longing at different places, and Bharta made inquiries about all. After worshipping the gods and taking leave of them, the two brothers Bharta and Shatrugna went up to the Sri Rama's mother Kaushalya. Bharta showed respect to all his mothers by kneeing their feet and speaking to each in polite terms. Then, entrusting his brothers with the service of his mothers, he himself summoned the Nishada chief and went hand to hand with him, his body overpowered with excess of love. He asked his friends to show him the spots and thereby soothe the agony of his eyes and soul to some extent, where Sita, Sri Rama, and the Lakshmana had slept at night. Even as he spoke, the corner of his eyes were filled with tears. The Nishada chief was distressed to hear Bharta's words and presently took him to spot where the chief of the Raghu line had rested under a holy Ashoka tree. With great affliction and reverence, Bharta protested himself there. Beholding a lovely litter of Kausha grass, he paced round in clockwise and made obeisance. He also placed the dust of the Sri Rama's footprint on his eyes with an excess of love which could not be described in words. He saw there is a few gold spangles which he placed on his hand and treated them on a par with Sita. With tears in his eyes and a heart full of remorse, he spoke to his friend in sweet accent. These spangles have lost their charms and appear lusterless due to their separation from Sita, even as the people of the Ayodhya, both men and women, are spent through sorrow. To whom shall I liken her father Janka, who in this world is the master of asceticism and enjoyment both, and she had to her father-in-law King Dasharatha, the son of the solar race, who was the envy, even the lord of the paradise, and her beloved lord is no other than the Lord of Sri Rama, from whose glory all great ones derived their greatness. Even as I gaze on the little used by Sita, the jewel among virtuous women devoted to their Lord, my heart does not break in horror. It is the harder than adamant, my God. As my younger brother Lakshmana is so comely and worth fondling, and never was there such a brother, nor is there, nor will be, beloved of the people and the darling of his parents. He is dear as life for the both Sita and the hero of Raghunath. Nay, he is so delicate of frame and tender of disposition, his body has never been exposed to the hot wind, yet he is bearing hardship of every kind in the woods. Oh, my breast has overdone millions of the thunderbolts. As for the Rama, he has illuminated the world by being born in it. He is such an ocean of beauty, amiability, joy, and all excellency. Sri Rama's disposition is the delight of the people of the Ayodhya and his own family, much more of his preceptor and parents. Even enemies praise Sri Rama, who steals the heart by his polite speech, agreeable manners, polite speech, agreeable means enjoyable and pleasurable, polite scream, enjoyable and pleasurable manners, and modesty in the behavior, millions of modesty in the behavior. Modesty means the quality or state of being and estimation of the one's ability, behavior. Millions of Shardas, goddess of speech, and hundreds of millions of Sheshas are unable to reckon upon the virtues of the Lord. That jewel of the Raghuline, who is bliss personified, and the mine of joy and the blessing, slaps on the ground, spreading the kushagas on this. The way of the providence is inexorable indeed. Sri Rama had never heard any mention of sorrow. The king, our fathers, tended him like the tree of the life. Tended him like the tree of life. Nay, all the mothers cherished him day and night, even as the eyelid protect the eyes of the serpent guard the gem of its heads. The same Rama now wandered through the forest on foot, living on bulbs, root, fruits, and the fall flowers. Assured is Kaka is my mother, the root of the evil, who turns hostile to him. Have her own husband, who was the dearer object of her life. Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama, Shri Rama. No. And twice accuses my own rash selves, the ocean of the sin and the occasion of the trouble, while God created me as a blot on my family, my mother has made me the enemy of my masters. Hearing this, the Nishada chief lovingly comforted him. Why should you not lament in vain? Sri Rama is dear to you, and you are dear to Rama. This is the settled fact, and the blame rests with an adverse fate. Cruel indeed are the doing of the adverse fate, while drove Mother Kaikeyi made the Lord reverently praise you again and again. Lord reverently praise you again. There is no one says Tulsidas so supremely dear to the Sri Rama as you are. I declare that this on oath. Therefore, be assured that all will be well in the end, and take courage in your heart. Sri Rama knows the heart of all. Nay, he is an embodiment of the tenderness, affection, and the compassion. Considering this and summoning courage in your heart, please go and take rest. Bharata took comforts at the word of his friends and proceeded towards lodging with his thoughts directed towards the hero of the Raghura. On receiving this news, the men and the women of the city sailed forth to see the place where Sri Rama had slept one night, much distressed at heart. Pacing round the spot clockwise, they made obeisance to it and blamed Kaikeyi to their hearts' content. Tears rushed to their eyes again and again, and they reproached cruel fate. Some would praise Bharata's love, while others said the king has vindicated his affection. Sri Ramayana. Vindicated means what do you mean? Vindicated means clear to blame or suspicion, clear to suspicion, show and prove it right, reasonable, and just. Vindicated his affection. They would reproach themselves and praise the Nishada chief, who can describe the Sri Ramayana, their confusion and woe. In this way, the all kept vigil overnight. At daybreak, the passenger crossed the river. Begin. The Guru was put on the good and the handsome boat, and all the mothers on other newly built one. Is an hour and a half. Everyone was taken across. The Bharata has alighted. He made sure that all had come. Having finished the morning duties, Bharata adored his mother's feet and bowed his head to the preceptors, and keeping a party to Nishada ahead, started the whole host. He made the Nishada chief led to the men, and they started to the palkis carrying the queen mothers, and summoning the younger brother Shatrugna told him off as their escort. The Guru proceeded next along with the other Brahmins. He himself then made obeisance to the celestial river, invoked Sita, Rama, and Lakshmana, and set forth on the foot horse, while empty saddle wise led by the bride along with him. Again and again his faithful servant said, "Be pleased, sire, to mount your house. Sri Rama has gone on foot, while carrot, elephants, horse are intended for me. What behove me in that I should walk on my head?" Most difficulty of the servant, seeing his behavior and hearing his polite speech, all the servant melted out of a feeling of self-disparagement. Sri Ramayana. Bharata entered the limit of the Prayaga, the area surrounding the confluence of the Ganga and Yamuna near Allahabad. In the afternoon, overflowing with love, he cried Rama Sita, even as he went. The blisters of the sole of his feet glistened like a dewdrop of the lotus bud. The whole company was grieved to hear the Bharata had made the day march on the foot. After asserting that all had finished their ablutions, he repaired to the confluence of the Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati and did homage to it. He bathed in the white and the dark waters and due ceremony, and honored the Brahmins, bestowing gifts on them. As he watched the coming of the dark and the white babes, Bharata felt a thrill of joy over his body, and he joined his palms in prayers. "You are the best of all desired objects, O King of the sacred place. Your glory is known to the Vedas and the Menfis throughout the worlds. Abandoning the course of the conduct prescribed by the Keke, I beg alarms of you, as what vile act is there that an afflicted soul would not stop to." Realizing this, there is the heart. Realizing this in their heart of heart, the wise and the generous donors accomplish in this verse the prayers of the suppliant. Sri Ramayana. I have no liking for the wealth, nor the religious merit, nor the sensuous enjoyment, nor again do I seek to state of the perfect and the perpetual calms. Birth after birth, let me have devotion to the Sri Rama's feet. This is the only boon I ask, and not else. Let Sri Rama take me for a big fellow, and let the people call me as enemy of the preceptor and master. All the same, by your grace, may my devotion to the feet of the Sita and the Sri Rama grew day by day. The cloud may neglect the chakara birds all its life, and on Its asking water may discharge thunderbolts and hell, but the birds will fall in the estimation of others if it ceases to call out to the cloud. Shri Ramayana. It will gain Shri Ramayana. It will gain in every way only by intensifying its love for the latter, just as gold gets brighter by being put into the fire, even so the lover shines by sinking the vow of the devotion to the feet of the most beloved Lord. In response to the Bharta's prayer, there came a sweet and the benedictory utterance from the minds of the Triveni. Dear Bharta, you are pious in every way, and your love for Sri Rama's feet is unbounded. In vain do you harbor depressing thoughts in your mind. There is no one so dear to Rama as you are. A thrill ran through Bharta's body, and his soul rejoiced to hear the agreeable words of the deity presiding over Triveni, exclaiming, Bharta is praiseworthy, all praises to him. The god joyfully rained flowers. Shri Ramayana. The inhabitant of Prayaga, the king of the sacred space, including anchorites, religious students, householders, and recluses, were transported with joy. Same persons gathered together and said to one another, Bharta's affection and amiability are artless and genuine. Hearing the Sri Rama's charming virtues, he came to the great sage Bharadwaja. Sage saw him falling protest before him and looked upon his as his own good luck personified. Running up and lifting him, the sage clasped him to his bosom, gratified him by bestowing his blessings on him, offered a seat by the sage. He sat down with his head bent low, as if he would run away and hide his face in a den of the bashfulness. He felt much perturbed as the bought that the sage's mind asked him any caution. Seeing his amiability and confusion of the mind, the sage said to him, Listen, Bharta, I have already heard everything, but we have no control over the doing of the fate. Be not distressed at heart by the thought of what your mother has done. It is no fault of the Kaikeyi, dear child. It was the goddess of speech who deluded her mind. Nobody would approve of it even if I said so, for the wise recognize worldly opinion as well as judgment of the Vedas by singing your unsullied glory. However, the world and the Vedas both will be exalted. The world as well as the Vedas admit it, and everyone says that the king's son, he alone gets the throne of whom his fathers bestowed it. The king who was above all true of his vow would have called you and bestowed the kingdom on you, and this would have brought him joy, religious merits, and glory. But the root of all trouble was Rama's exile to the forest, and the whole universe was pained to hear of it. It was, however, a fate would have it, much as the foolish Queen Kaikeyi did wrong. She now repent for it, but he who lays the least blame for it on you is vile, ignorant, and wicked. Even if you accepted the sovereignty, no blame would attach to you, and even Rama would have been gratified to hear it. But what you have done now is the excellent. Your standpoint is quite justified, for devotion of the Sri Rama's feet is the root of all choice blessing in the world. And that is your wealth and the life, nay, your vital breath. Who is then so highly blessed as you? This is, however, not to be wondered as you see in your seas, who are in the son of the king Dashrath, beloved brother of the Rama. I tell you, Bharta, there is no one held so dear in his heart by the chief of the Raghu line as you. Lakshmana, Rama, and the Sita most fondly praises you in the whole night. I came to know the secret only when they were bathing at the Prayaga. They would feel overwhelmed with love for you. The chief of the Raghu line cherished the same love for you as a fool does for the life of ease of in the world. This is, however, no great tribute to the hero of Raghu race, who cherishes the whole family of the suppliant. As for yourself, Bharata, my opinion is that you are the very incarnation of love for Rama. What to your mind constitutes a slur on you is a lesson to us all. The present occasions have proved very propitious for preparing Alex in the form of devotion. Preparing Alex. Alex means Alex, a magical medicinal potion, a magical medicine. Preparing Alex in the form of the devotion to the Sri Ramayana. Your glory, dear child, is a new type of the spotless moon, as it were, while Rama devotee are like so many water lilies that open only in the moonlight. Chakora birds that are equally fond of the moon. I shall always remain above the horizon and shall never set. Nay, it shall never wane and shall never wax in the heavens of the worlds. The Chakravaka birds in the shape of three worlds shall cherish great love for it, while the sun in the shape of the Lord glory shall never rob it of its splendor. Shri Ramayana. It shall ever delighted everyone by day as well as by the night, and the demon Rahu in the form of the is doing shall never eclipse it. It is full of nectar in the form of idle love for Rama and untarnished by any stain resulting from the wrong done to the Guru. Let Rama devotee now enjoy nectar to their hearts content, since you have made it so easy to access even on earth. Of your forebearers, King Bharatas brought down the celestial river, the very thought of which is fountain of all choice blessing. As for the Shraddha virtue, they are more than one can describe in the world. There is none else even equal to you. How then anyone can be superior to you? Won by the affection and meekness of Sri Rama himself appeared on the earth. Rama, affection and meekness, Sri Rama himself appeared. Rama, whoever Shiva always saw him with the mental eyes, but never satiated. You have created the peerless moon of your glory, which bears on its figures of a deer in the shape of the love of for Rama. You feel distressed at heart, dear son. For no purpose you fear poverty, even though you have found the philosopher's stones. Listen, Bharata, I tell no falsehood. I am ascetic, dwelling in the forest and having no concern with the world. I obtained the happy and the excellent reward of all spiritual practices when I saw Lakshmana, Rama, and Sita. The reward of their reward itself in your is your side. It is great for fortune for Prayaga as well as all of us. Bharata, you deserve all praises, since by your glory, you have conquered the whole world. As he concluded his speech, the sage was overwhelmed with love. Those who were assembled there rejoiced to hear the sage's words, while the god acclaimed Bharatas and rained flower on him. Even as Bharata heard the shouts of the applauses in the heaven as well as Prayaga, he was overwhelmed with emotion, experienced a thrill of joy all over his body. With his heart full of Sita and the Rama and his lotus eyes wet with tears, he made obeisance to the conclave of sages and thus spoke in the voice choked with emotion. Here is the assembly of the sages, and we stands as a place which is known as a king of sacred places. Great harms will come to the man if he states even a fact of the oath and such a place, Shri Ramayana. And if one tells a lies, there will be the no greater sin and depravity. I speak out the truth, knowing as I do that you are all wise, while the Lord of Raghu has access to the immortal recess of one's heart, Shri Ramayana. In most recess of one's heart, do not mind, I am not shameful for what my mother has done, nor I am troubled at heart over the thought that the world will look upon me as mean. I fear not lest I should spoil my future life, nor do I grieve over my father's death, whose meritorious deed as and fair renown shines for the throughout the universe, who had sons like the Lakshmana and the Sri Rama, who quitted his frail body as a result of his separation from the Sri Rama. Thus there hardly any occasion for lamentation on his account. What pains me is that dressing themselves as the hermit, Sri Rama, Lakshmana and Sita roam from the forest to forest without shoe on their feet, clad in the deer skins, living on the bare fruit, reposing on the ground, overwhelmed with the kosha grass and leaves, and rotting in the trees. They ever endure cold and sunshine, rain, and the storm. It is the burning agony which is ever consuming my breast, so that I feel no appetite at by day and get no sleep at the night. For this fell disease, Shri Ramayana, for this fell disease there is no remedy. I have mentally ransacked the whole world. My mother's evil counsel was like a sinful carpenter who used my interest as adage and fashioned out a insuspicious wood of discord of the destructive magical contrivances, and muttering the terrible malevolent spell of Sri Rama, exiled for a fixed term for the 14 years, planted it in the soil of India. It is my sake that she employed this infamous contrivances and brought ruin of the whole world. This calamity will cease only when Sri Rama's return. By no other means can Ayodhya thrive again. The sage Bharadwaj was gratified to hear Bharata's word, and everyone applauded him in ways more than once. Grieve not much, dear child. All your woes will disappear the moment you behold the Sri Rama's feet, Sri Ramayana. After comforting him, the chief of the Sikh Bharata said, "Be my beloved guest and design to accept the bulbs, roots, fruits, and flowers that we may we may offer you. On hearing the Sheikh's word, Bharta was troubled at heart, for he was faced with a hard puzzle at a difficult time. Then, realizing the importance of what the elderly said, he adored the Sheikh's feet and replied with the joint palm, "Your order must be respectfully obeyed. This is my paramount duty, my lord." Bharta's reply placed the great Sheikh Bharadwaja, who called his trustworthy servants and people by their sides. Partha ought to be entertained, therefore go and bring bulbs, roots, and fruit. They bowed their heads with the words, "Very well, sir," and most gladly proceeded to take charge of their respective duties. The Sheikh justly thought that he has invited a distinguished guest and that a deity must be worshipped according to his or her rank. Hearing of this rich of the various kinds, siddhis and the supernatural power siddhis like anemia, the power of assuming atomic size, appeared in the visual form and said, "We are prepared to do your bidding, O Lord." Bharta, as well as his younger brother Shatrugna and the whole company, are distressed due to their separation from the Rama, entertained them and relieved them of their fatigue. The great Sheikh gladly said, "The riches and the supernatural power in their embodied form bowed to the command of the great Sheikhs and they deemed themselves highly favored." The Siddhis said to one another, "Sri Rama's younger brother Bharata is a guest beyond compare. Going at the Sheikh's feet, let us do that which may gratify the whole of the royal party." So saying, they erected beautiful dwellings of the various patterns which put the shame by their appearance the aerial cars of the gods. They were replete with abundant luxuries and splendor which were coveted by immortals, equipped with necessaries of the all kinds of the men servant, maid servant remained in attendance, focusing their attention on the pleasure of the guest. The Siddhis provided in and installed all the amenities which cannot be dreamed of even in heaven. First of all, they assigned to each of the guest quarters that were charming and comfortable and suited to the taste of the occupation occupant. Therefore, Bharta and his family were assigned quarters, for such were the instructions given by the Sikhs. By dint of the penance, the great Sikhs provided wealth that astonished the creator Brahma himself. ShriRam. When Bharta beheld the Sikhs' power, the realm of all the rulers of the spheres looked small in his eyes. The luxuries were more than one could describe. The wise would forget their dissipation on seeing them. There were seats in the couches, draperies and the canopies, groves in the gardens, birds and the beasts of the different species, sweet scented flowers and the fruit tasting like ambrosia, many a lake and the ponds of the limpid water of foods and the drinks of an undefiled and innocent characters, which were more delicious than nectar and the ambrosia, and which the guest would hesitate to accept like so many ascetics. Every house was supplied with the celestial cow, the cow of plenty, and the tree of the paradise. Indra, the king of the gods, and his consort Sachi grew covetous at their side. It was the vernal season, and the cool, fragrant, and a gentle breeze was blowing. Everyone had all the four prizes of the life: religious merit, worldly riches, sensual enjoyment, and final beatitude within one's easy reach. At the sight of the luxuries like garland, sandal paste, and the women, the guests were overcome by the mixed feeling of joy and sorrow at the unique hospitality shown by the Sheikh by dint of his yogic powers, and the sorrow became at the time when they should abstain from the luxuries of the every kind they were being offered. The same affluences like the female Chakraka birds and the Bharta as her mate were impressions together that night in the cage of the hermitage by the Sheikh's order, which was a sad play, and they remained there till it was dawn. Sri Ramayana, pause 19 for the 30 days recitation.